What is up, everybody? Matt here, back again with another video for you. Today we're going to be talking about 10 things you may not have known about George Harrison. Number 10. Prenatal raga. Before even being born, George was introduced to Indian music. His mother, while pregnant with him, would listen to a radio broadcast called Radio India, which featured traditional Indian music. Talk about starting young. Number 9. Karl Harrison. It's well documented that George was a fan of Carl Perkins. His playing style and frequent covers of his music shows the influence he had on George. When an early version of the Beatles began touring Scotland in 1960, George decided to use the name Karl Harrison as a nod to his hero Carl Perkins. One could also assume that this was due to his young age at the time, so he may have created this false identity to also gain access to clubs and halls he may not have been permitted to enter because he was only 17 at the time of the tour. Number 8. The concert for Bangladesh was kind of a bust. In 1972, George and a cavalcade of other acts put on the legendary Concert for Bangladesh, from which all the profits would go directly to charity to benefit refugees from the Bangladesh Liberation War. The concert, album, and film were all major successes. However, there were missteps in the form of payment of taxes and questionable business practices from record companies and higher-ups involved, which resulted in delayed funds and lost money for the charity. Despite all of this, George stayed positive, saying the main thing was we spread the word and help get the war ended. Number 7. An unofficial Python member. Harrison had always been a fan of the work of Monty Python. Eric Idle was a frequent collaborator and even directed his music video Cracker Box Palace. Harrison returned the favor by backing the Python film Life of Brian with his film company, scoring a Blink and You Miss It cameo. He was also featured in Eric Idle's Beatles parody The Ruddles and a TV special where he desperately tried to be a pirate. He even backed the Terry Gilliam film Time Bandits and provided the song Dream Away for the soundtrack. Number 6. Not a fan of anthology. The 94 Anthology project began as an opportunity to tell the story of the Beatles from their own perspective. This included an album, TV series, book, and re-recorded material from John Lennon demos to create new Beatles songs. While George was active in the project and contributed to Real Love and Free as a Bird, it seems as though he was disenchanted with the project by the end of it. One can infer this from 2 quotes. The first about the new material. He said, "I hope somebody does this to all my crap demos when I'm dead. Make them into hit songs." This is further driven home by his refusal to work on a third song for the album series. He also later commented that the project would be a TV series, album, book, and also a t-shirt. Odds are he just became disenchanted by the commercialization of his work and didn't like to see something like that come of it. Number 5. Planet Harrison. In 1984, a stony Eunomian, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, asteroid was discovered by astronomer Brian Skiff. It bears the name of our favorite quiet beetle and is designated officially by MPC as 4149 Harrison. Technically, the asteroid is a minor planet and it's actually part of the asteroid belt named 8749 Beatles, which features 3 other asteroids also named after the other members in the group. Number 4. George and electricity. George was almost an electrician, taking up an apprenticeship at age 16. His dad wanted him to join up with his brothers, a mechanic and a groundskeeper, to start a business. Of course, this didn't happen. But had George studied a bit more in this field, he may have been able to prevent getting shocked while filming Let It Be. Twice. Number 3. Cake Attack. As far as Led Zeppelin stories go, this one is actually pretty tame. It goes that Led Zeppelin's drummer John Bonham was spotted by George at a party and wanted to get a photo with him. Before he could, though, George saw him and thought he was going to be pranked, so he decided to get him before he got. George found some cake and nailed Bonham with it. They both started laughing, and Bonham then grabbed George Harrison and threw him in the pool. Number 2. George and Cirque du Soleil. The Beatles' Love is one of the most popular Cirque shows ever produced, and it may never have come to pass had it not been for George. According to the amazing documentary film All Together Now, which details the creation of the project, Cirque's founder, Guy Ladabate, says the origin of the show came from meetings he had with George Harrison. It's not surprising, given that George was a fan of the group and their work, having taken Paul to see O previously. While he didn't go into details with Guy, the show has his family's blessing and involvement and is still running today in Las Vegas. Number 1. Love one another. George's final words before he passed in 2001. A fitting and loving message of peace. It could easily be said that if George had one true desire, it would be for all of us to find peace with one another. A message to all of us to remember our humanity and love of our fellow man.